What's up, brownies? It's a shame that the candy hate train is still going, but what's sadder is the fact that we have to take a detour to add an additional passenger. That would be Nene Leakes. And then we have Shereé. Now, why are these two on this particular train? It's because this train is headed straight for the battle of the boutiques. And these two passengers are people who also do own or have owned boutiques, but can't seem to keep Kandi's name out of their mouths, and they're worried about her coins and what her business is doing when they should be worried about their own. It's bizarre that someone who has so much to worry about in their personal lives chooses to take an interview that's supposed to be all about her, and then several times in both parts of the video, she makes it about Kandi. So let's talk about Swagg Boutique. This is a still image from the IG page that's up for Swagg Boutique that hasn't been updated in many years. And it has a link to a website that, no longer exists. Seems like you need to pay that Wix bill, sis. Also, those locations that you have listed don't even exist. Now, here's what you really need to be worried about. It's all about how you choose to treat your employees. So for one of those locations in particular, the one in the DMV, it seems as though you lack the professionalism to have the follow through necessary when you were shutting down the business to actually alert the employees so that they would know that they weren't going to be employed, so that they could get their last paycheck, and also that they can have the proper documentation so that they can easily apply for unemployment. You didn't do any of that. Wouldn't even answer the phone. Received the text messages and then left them on red. That doesn't seem to be a problem that Kandi has, but you, my dear, it seems to be one that you have. But hey, that was all the way back in 2021, so I'm sure you've gotten that squared away and paid that back pay, and now you can focus on paying this almost $23,000 that you owe for one of your Atlanta locations. But wait, you said you didn't sign that lease. Greg did, so they need to talk to him about that. So we're still waiting on Ghost Greg to come out of the grave and pay the debts of the self-proclaimed Rich B. You see, for the Atlanta area, I found the Sugarloaf location in Duluth, and then also the West Paces Ferry location that was across from the St. Regis, but I can't find any evidence of either one of those still being in business. You see, Kandi was able to pivot from brick and mortar to go to just online. And also what I can't find is your location in Miami. So if you all know of any of these locations still being open or Swagg Boutique still being a thing, let us know in the comments so that we can go and help support. Now let's see how this got started.
Do you think Kandi's overrated and overpaid?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Tell me why.
I just don't think she's I don't think the camera loves her. I just don't think the camera I think the camera loves her family, but I don't think they love her. And so I don't think the viewers or anybody would ever see Kandi as much as they want to make Kandi like the star, and she's been there for 100 years and she is her. I don't think not one person tunes in and believes that.
Now, I decided to just go ahead and mute the rest of the hating that went on in that clip so that we could talk about what Nene is really mad about. It's the fact that all of her opportunities dried up after she left that show. Past season 12, the only thing that she's really been on is College Hill, and that's a joke. We might talk about finances a little later, but for now, let's just go ahead and pick up the next passenger on the train. So I guess this train is headed over to Struggleville because that must be the side of town where She by Shereé is located. This imaginary beef and competition that you have going on with Kandi in your head, sweetie, know this. You can't compete where you don't compare. And there's nothing about She by Shereé that can compare to any of the real businesses that Kandi has. And yet you decided to waste your time and money getting someone to design a pamphlet and getting it printed out to point out the few missteps that Kandi has made in her several businesses that she's had for several years. And yet we're still at the failure to launch stage on your first one 14 years later. You also said that you don't owe anybody, unlike Kandi, but
we made Lil Mama look good.
Right.
You ain't do That's me. And the fact that you ain't acknowledge it, the fact that you ain't give me no clout, the fact that you ain't even try to like say, damn, I appreciate you. You know, if y'all don't know, we talk about She by Shereé. You know what I'm saying? She went online, she went on national TV, on Housewives on the reunion, and she brought out receipts. So I bought my receipts too because Lil Mama tried to play me, and we not doing that. You feel me?
So did you get paid for your work?
I did not get paid for my work. I got reimbursed for my work. And I have the evidence to show that I got reimbursed for my work. We didn't even get to the point to where how much your labor is, how much your time is, none of that.
So you didn't get paid for anything but reimbursed for what
I just got reimbursed what I put out. In fact, I didn't even get all that. I just got $2,000.
And that was not the agreement.
That was not the agreement.
I know you lying. Imagine trying to do the same thing for 14 years. And
mind you, this your third fashion show on national TV.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you, brother. You took the words right out of my mouth. Now, Shereé, this is what you need to be worried about. Worry about the fact that your first fashion show had no fashions. How dreadful. And when Dwight helped you with the second one, his story was eerily similar to this guy's about paying out of pocket and then not being reimbursed by you. So this is actually a pattern. And girl, you ought to be shamed. Not ashamed, just shame. You can take the A off the front, the D off the back. And speaking of ads, this commercial, your first campaign ad for She by Shereé, that was full of cheap, bedazzled, wrinkled t-shirts. I mean, Shereé, this is what you thought was going to be in Bergdorf? No, wait. At first, you were pretending like you were actually sketching and designing and getting other designers to help your vision come true, when in reality, all of your stuff is coming on a slow boat from China, just like Swagg and Tags. And you have the nerve, the audacity to critique her business acumen? Sweetie, just look at all of the different businesses and the professional websites that she has going on right now. And oh, wait a minute, websites. Wasn't your tagline?
She by Shereé. More like she broke the internet.
Delusional. Girl, look up at Kandi as she flies above while we start the education portion of this video. Now, look at Kandi's professional website scrolling in the background. Here's the difference. Shereé's website crashed because she did not purchase the correct back-end amount of bandwidth to support the influx of traffic that came to that website due to people rushing over after the reunion to see if they could purchase something or really just to be nosy. But you should have anticipated that as a business person. There's a lot of different factors here that goes on as it pertains to designing a website the hard way, which is something that I know about because it's something that I do, versus just having a print-on-demand shop with its own internal back end, which is something that I have. So let's talk about both. Looking at both Swagg and Tags when they were doing the whole brick and mortar thing before the pandemic, that is an outdated business model, and it's way too expensive and unnecessary when in this day and time POD is available. But first, let's stop here in Loserville so that we can drop off Nene. Of course, you're the first one out because you're no longer in business, unless once again, you all can tell us something different in the comments. And let me just give you a spoiler alert. Swaggboutique.com is not her website. Her website says it is swagboutiqueonline.com. As a matter of fact, wait, before we move again, let's just go ahead and drop Shereé off here too so we can cut the charade. Because clearly, we already knew that Kandi was going to be the winner.